back of the rim. Garnett on the slam. Here's a Curry way downtown. Oh, what a shot from Curry!
The sun is beginning to set on this NBA season, which is giving us a better idea of the teams we could expect to see play into June. And if you broke these teams down into a pyramid, I believe there's 4 levels. There's teams that would have to turn everything around. It would just be jaw-dropping if they went to the finals, yet they still have the personnel to be there. I think that's Philly. There are the dark horse teams, the teams that we don't expect to be in the finals yet. They still have some resemblance of a contending team. I see that as the Miami Heat and the Utah Jazz. You have the teams that probably are not going to the finals, yet if they were there, you saw the path before it happened. I break that down to the Rockets, Celtics, Toronto Raptors, and Denver Nuggets. And finally, the teams that if they're there, we fully expected it in the first place. Clippers, Lakers, Bucks. They're going to be the favorites in most series that they play in. So today, I'm going to be presenting what a championship would mean for 5 of these teams, because I only think it truly makes sense to discuss 5 of them. We're talking about the players that it would impact, how it would impact the franchise itself, and which of these teams needs the championship the absolute most. Of course, it takes plenty of skill to become a championship team, and you can enhance your skills in your own life with Skillshare. Shout out to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is an online learning community that allows you to accomplish real growth in whatever your passion may be with the support of other creative minds. They do this by offering classes designed for real life, which are very easy to digest and fit into your busy schedule. Through the years, there's been so many of you that have asked me what skills you may need to make videos. You could easily explore that topic here with full, detailed classes that would teach you everything you need to know in a short amount of time to get started. Or if you're already making videos, you could just as easily acquire more skills with more advanced classes. I myself have already taken a class on some graphic design basics with Cooper Hewitt, and in just around 35 minutes, I've already got a better idea on how to frame shots. So Skillshare is very affordable, especially when you're comparing it to in-person classes that are probably going to take a lot more of your time. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month, but the first 500 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a 2-month free trial of premium membership so you can explore your creativity. Skillshare is an extremely valuable tool and a really good use of your time if you're trying to improve at something, so be sure to visit the link in the comment section and description to get your free trial. A championship for the Houston Rockets would be monumental, and I mean that on multiple fronts. Mike D'Antoni has been experimenting with offenses going back to the Suns days. Not one of those experiments has so much resulted in a finals berth, and this season has been his most uncanny experiment. We already had small ball, we had death lineups, but now we have super small ball. Talking about playing 5 exclusive perimeter players at pretty much all times. And in the event that this surprises us and wins a championship, I'm willing to bet you're going to see it adapted in future iterations of teams. Nonetheless, with how he's been tinkering with offenses in the last 15 years or so, a championship would obviously be huge for him, especially because there's a stigma that D'Antoni teams don't work in the playoffs. And then an NBA title, a ring for both Westbrook and James Harden. For both of them in their all-time ranking, in their all-time positional rankings, they would catapult. People can say that championships are team accomplishments as much as they want, but rankings routinely prove that championships matter. On top of an MVP and multiple MVP seasons where people think Harden was snubbed, a championship would make it likely that you start to see him being argued as the 3rd greatest shooting guard of all time. Again, argued, nothing solidified. And on top of whatever it does for Westbrook's ranking, it would be complete vindication for a career that has largely been, well, criticized. People ask, well, what does all his stats mean? How much does he actually contribute to winning when it really matters? And a championship the first time a team was really truly built to cater to him would likely start to change the narrative. It would also mean a lot that both Westbrook and Harden won the championship together, because when the trade went down last summer, all the talk was about how this was actually going to work. In what world could Westbrook and Harden play together? So a championship this year would be validating on multiple fronts. The Raptors. Wow. If they were to go on and win the championship this year, I feel pretty comfortable in saying there is nothing in history to compare it to. You talk about a team that was consistently looked at as a pretender before the trade for Kawhi, and how he went on to become the most important part in leading them to their first ever franchise championship, and then him walking away in the summer. The fact that they're even 2nd in the East right now with a serious chance to contend, that's already uncharted waters. But if they were to go on and win the championship, that very likely means that they once again beat the Bucks, and they did this without Kawhi Leonard. Just making the finals in that fashion is unfathomable, but winning it would make them repeat champions, and I'm going to assume that this would solidify Kyle Lowry as a Hall of Famer. There are people on both sides of the fence right now. However, However, Toronto repeating would probably mean that he contributed in some significant capacity. And yeah, people are already arguing that he is a Hall of Famer, so I believe that does this for him. And Pascal Siakam would be a 2-time champion at the start of what I believe is going to end up being a superstar career. But overall for Toronto, this would be one of the more incredible stories in sports history. Just going from what they were even before last year to a repeat champion after losing a finals MVP. I don't even know if that's a story that would be duplicated anytime soon in the NBA. The Bucks would be claiming only their second franchise title, and this is really huge for Giannis. From the point we're at now, we can probably project that he's going to be MVP. The only question is whether it's going to be unanimous or not, and with the numbers that he's putting up in only around 30 minutes per game, and the fact that the Bucks might go on to win 70 games, it's getting into that unanimous territory. Now, if that holds, and the Bucks go on to make the finals and win it against, say, a Lakers or a Clippers team, two teams that are probably deemed as more talented than the Bucks, and Giannis comes away with the finals MVP, this would catapult him very high on the all-time rankings. Remember that Giannis won the MVP last year. He himself said he didn't want it brought up again because they did not go on to win the title, but he's possibly about to go unanimous on a back-to-back. So if he manages a finals MVP type title against a LeBron and AD or a Kawhi and Paul George, on top of what he's done in the last couple of years, not only are you looking at a massive boost to his ranking, but he is very much just getting started as well. He's 25 and has only been truly dominant for about 3 seasons. Especially with the type of freak of nature that he is, there's really no telling where this could end up after that. A title for the Clippers would not only mean they came out victorious in the Battle of LA, the most intense Battle of LA that we've had, it would also give them their first franchise championship, in which Laker fans would spend the summer spamming 16-1. I promise you they already have this in the drafts. But this would obviously be huge for Kawhi. Say he winds up winning finals MVP, which is not only possible but very likely. Now he's got a championship and finals MVP for 3 different franchises. Not only that, but the last time this happened was with the Raptors just not even a year ago yet, and that was that franchise's first championship. He played the biggest part in leading them there. So if he does the same with the Clippers, now you've got another uncharted water situation. A superstar going around handing out championships like he's Robin Hood. Mind you, these are 2 franchises that have never been particularly close to winning a championship before he arrived there. That leaves Kawhi with possibly 3 championships, 3 finals MVPs, a couple of defensive player of the years, one of the best playoff runs of all time. Of course, we have to wait and see what happens in this playoff run to see if he would add on to that. And at that point, you're looking at a situation where the only thing he doesn't have in his all-time rankings are the typical stuff that you have when you play a regular amount of regular season games. The regular season which he uses for practice. So maybe his all-star appearances look a little bit funny, his point and assist totals, things like that. Paul George completes what people have forgotten will be one of the most incredible comeback stories in sports history. His injury is about 5 years old now and people don't remember, even though it's not a torn ligament, those are typically worse. It was very gruesome. It was still career threatening. It probably damaged a lot of people's confidence. Yet he was an MVP candidate last year, he's part of this duo this year, and to go on and become an NBA champion after that adversity would be very impressive. And then there's Lou Williams, who gets to stack this championship on top of his 6 Man of the Year awards. Does he end up in the Hall of Fame after 4 or 5 6 Man of the Years and then a championship? For those of y'all screaming no, there's been players in there for less. And a Los Angeles Lakers championship. I saved them for last because I tweeted about this earlier in the season, and I believe a championship would do the absolute most for their franchise. Dwight Howard gets a ring at long last, and it comes at a time when he's a role player coming off the bench rather than an MVP leading superstar. Very weird sequencing of events, but look, he's already a Hall of Fame. For some reason, there's still people out there questioning it. For some reason, ESPN is still talking about this on their show, still actually debating it. But for the non-believers, yes, I guess this would be solidifying. A championship is about the only thing his career is really missing. Rajon Rondo becomes a 2-time champion, and I believe the first player to become a champion on both the Celtics and the Lakers. But that's not even as relevant as the fact that it probably solidifies him as a Hall of Famer. When he was in Boston, people thought he was a shoo-in, because that's what his career trajectory showed. A championship on top of his assist records, his time in Boston, the championship in Boston, some of the all-star appearances he's had. Again, there's been guys in there with less. I think another championship really solidifies him here, if he's not a Hall of Famer already. Anthony Davis jumps up some spots all time. He's already one of the most talented players this league has ever seen. He's been one of the best players in the league on both sides of the ball for many years. He's literally only been missing accolades and playing for a winning team. A title is big for him, but it pales in comparison for what it does to LeBron James's career. His 4th title, very possibly his 4th Finals MVP. On top of everything he's already done in his career, we could be here all day listing it. This would give him 3 titles with 3 different franchises, possibly Finals MVPs as well, and the Lakers of all franchises, which, by the way, this would be tying them with the Celtics for the most titles of all time. And he's doing this like 17 years in, so being the best player on a championship team 17 years into a career that is already in the GOAT debate, not to mention that the Lakers were not a contending team when he got there. There is no doubt in my mind that a title would mean the most to the Lakers this year, and especially what it would mean for the city after this tragedy they've experienced, and that we've all experienced, let's be honest. Oh, and just for good measure, this does also make JaVale McGee and Danny Green both 3-time champions, and these are not champions that were just riding the bench for their team, so not even metaphorically. In tangible terms, a ring for the Lakers would do more than it would do for any other franchise this season. So cheers to parity. For the first time in many years, I just talked about 5 teams that, even if it would be a bit of a surprise, I could legitimately see them all there, at least in the finals by the end of things, and legitimately contending to win it. I remain with my original pick of the finals being the Clippers and Bucks, but I'd like to know what you think in the comment section. So let me know who you think is going to be in the finals. Also, be sure to hit the like button, comment, and sub if you enjoyed, and hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications on future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.